Right, so Anthropic walked away from $200 million this week. Not because the check bounced, not because the project wasn't interesting, they walked away because the Pentagon wanted autonomous weapons and mass surveillance tools, and Anthropic said no. That's the kind of decision that makes you sit up and pay attention. Luma, you've been tracking this story since it broke. What's your read on what just happened here?
It's a line in the sand moment. And I don't mean that in a dramatic way, I mean it literally. For the past 2 years, AI labs have operated in this zone where the answer to most opportunities was yes. Build the model, take the contract, scale the capability. This is the first time a major lab has publicly said there's a category of work we won't do, regardless of the financial incentive. The Pentagon didn't sit around debating it, they went straight to OpenAI. And that's when it got interesting, because OpenAI lost 1.5 million users in the backlash. ChatGPT uninstalls jumped 295%.
Wait, hold on. 295%? That's not just people being upset on Twitter. That's actual behavior change. People deleted the app.
Yeah, and that matters because it's measurable consequence. Not a petition, not a hashtag, actual commercial impact. I've had clients asking me this week whether they should be worried about which AI provider they're using, not because of capability differences, because of association. That's new.
So what does this actually mean for people building with AI? Because I imagine most listeners aren't negotiating Pentagon contracts.
The constraint has shifted. For the last few years, if you wanted to build an AI system, the question was, do we have the technical capability? Can the model do this task? Now there's a second filter. Is this something we should build? Will users trust it? Will regulators allow it? The limits aren't technical anymore, they're political and social, and that changes the shape of what's viable.
Right, and if you're a small team building AI tools, you probably thought you were insulated from this stuff. You're not doing weapon systems, you're building productivity software or customer service bots. But the provider you choose now carries reputational weight. Your users care who built the underlying model.
That's uncomfortable, isn't it? Because it means you can't just pick the best model on a benchmark anymore. You're also picking a set of associations.
And it gets more complicated. OpenAI also released GPT 5.4 this week. First general-purpose model to ship production-ready computer use. 75% performance on OS World benchmarks. That beats the human baseline of 72.4%. On paper, it's extremely impressive.
Okay, so what's computer use in actual terms? Because that sounds technical.
Computer use means the model can control your desktop, navigate applications, click buttons, fill forms, complete multi-step workflows by looking at screenshots and issuing mouse and keyboard commands. It's agentic behavior. The model operates software on your behalf without you holding its hand through every step.
And GPT 5.4 is good at this?
On benchmarks, yes. In production, we don't know yet, because Claude shipped computer use in late 2024. That's over a year of real-world feedback, edge cases, iteration. GPT 5.4 is version 1. It will improve. But if you're building agents today, Claude's implementation has been battle-tested. That matters more than benchmark scores.
So what should builders actually do with this information?
Test both. Don't assume the benchmark translates to your use case. GPT 5.4 has some genuinely useful features. Automatic tool search for one. Instead of manually specifying every available tool in your prompt, which burns tokens and costs money, the model has a built-in search engine that finds relevant tools automatically. Less prompt engineering. Lower inference costs. Combined with a 1 million token context window, you can point it at complex workflows and let it figure out the tools and execute, in theory.
In theory is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
Correct. Which is why you test it on your actual workflows, not benchmarks. Compare latency, compare reliability. If you're already using Claude's computer use and it's working, don't panic switch. That production hardening is worth something.
Right. So the takeaway here is, computer use is real now. It's not experimental, but maturity beats raw capability when you're shipping to users.
And the other takeaway is, provider diversification just became a lot more important. You don't want your entire stack tightly coupled to one vendor when the politics are this volatile.
Agreed. The landscape supports provider-agnostic architectures now. Model context, protocol for tool connectivity, model routing for LLM selection, clear abstraction layers between your business logic and the model layer. You build that way, and you can switch providers without rewriting everything.
That's really practical advice, I like that. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Let's talk about something completely different. Voice agents.
Oh, this one's good. FreeCodeCamp published a guide this week on building production-ready voice agents. Not a demo, not a proof of concept. Production-ready, the kind of architecture that doesn't fall over when real users hit it.
What makes it production ready versus just a cool demo?
Separation of concerns. They've got a token service keeping secrets server-side, a real-time media plane for audio streaming, guardrails around tool execution, structured outputs after the call ends. It's the boring stuff that makes systems reliable at scale.
And it's vendor neutral. You can apply this architecture regardless of which voice model you're using. That flexibility matters because the voice AI space is moving fast. What works today might not be the best option in 6 months.
So is this the moment voice agents go from interesting experiment to viable product?
I think so. The infrastructure is mature enough now that small teams can build and operate voice experiences without constantly firefighting reliability issues. The barrier to shipping is getting lower, not higher. That's the inflection point.
And honestly, I'm seeing this with clients. 6 months ago, voice agents were a curiosity. Now they're asking how to integrate them into customer service workflows. The question has shifted from, can we do this, to how do we do this safely?
That's a big shift. Okay now, quantum computing. Luma, I know you love this one.
I'm going to disappoint you. This is a story about quantum hype breaking against basic mathematics.
Oh no, what happened?
A paper claimed to dramatically improve Shor's factoring algorithm. The claim was you could break RSA 2048 encryption using only 5,000 physical qubits instead of millions, which would be enormous. Security researchers panicked, cryptographers started sweating, and then Scott Aronson actually read the paper.
And?
It doesn't work. The authors suggested pre-computing exponentially many values on a classical computer, then loading them into quantum states, which takes exponential time, which completely defeats the purpose. Aronson's breakdown is precise and devastating. The algorithm violates basic computational principles.
So it's just wrong.
Completely. But here's what I find interesting. The serious work is happening quietly elsewhere. Rigetti reported 99.9% 2-qubit gate fidelity on prototype hardware. That's real progress. Canada mapped out its entire quantum ecosystem. 23 active companies building everything from hardware to post-quantum cryptography to quantum sensors. That's the kind of progress that doesn't make headlines but actually moves the field forward.
And Cloudflare extended hybrid post-quantum encryption to IPsec and WAN traffic this week. They're adopting ML-KM key exchange ahead of the NIST 2030 deadline.
Okay, in English, please.
Right, they're addressing the harvest now, decrypt later threat. That's where adversaries capture your encrypted traffic today, knowing that in 5 to 10 years they might have quantum computers that can decrypt it retroactively. Cloudflare is hardening infrastructure against that future possibility. It's unglamorous work, but it's the kind of thing that actually protects systems at scale.
So quantum hype is loud and mostly wrong, but the real work is steady and unsexy.
Exactly. The signal-to-noise ratio in quantum computing remains terrible, but the signal exists. You just have to filter aggressively.
All right, let's talk about something I found genuinely fascinating this week: productivity gains.
Oh, this one matters. US productivity grew 2.8% in 2025 year on year. That's roughly double the pace of the previous decade.
And that's measurable, not just vibes?
Measurable. Micro-level studies show 14% productivity gains in customer service, 26% for developers, around 25% for consultants on tasks AI can handle. These are chatbot-era numbers. They mostly predate agents. They don't capture what's happening right now with multi-step workflows and embedded AI reasoning.
And that's the key point. Goldman Sachs said AI added basically zero to US GDP in 2025, but they were measuring the wrong unit. They counted company pilots, not individual workers who've already deployed capabilities their entire organizations haven't matched.
So the gains are happening, but they're not showing up in the aggregate data yet because adoption is uneven.
Exactly. The gap between what institutions are doing and what capable individuals are doing is about to close fast. As agents spread through the workplace, the aggregate effect compounds. That 2.8% is just the beginning.
That's actually really exciting because it means the gains are real, not hypothetical.
And it means the chatbot phase is over. The agent phase is starting. Individual capability is running ahead of institutional adoption. That's the pattern to watch.
Okay, one more thing before we wrap. Agility Robotics just rebranded to Agility. They dropped the robotics suffix.
That's interesting. When a company removes what it makes from its name, it's usually a signal.
What kind of signal?
Confidence. Apple dropped computer in 2007. Google became Alphabet. Nike was never Nike shoes. The product becomes assumed. You're no longer explaining what you do. You're just doing it.
Their Digit robot is deployed at Toyota Canada. GXO Logistics, Schaeffler, Amazon, not pilots, actual warehouse operations. A rebrand usually means internal confidence that the product works. And when you're moving from we're building cool robots to we're solving industrial automation, that's a shift in how they see their future.
So the pilot phase is over.
For them, yes, they say they remain on track to deliver their first cooperatively safe humanoid in 2026, but the rebrand signals readiness to scale beyond current deployments. That's the bit to notice.
All right, so looking across everything today, what stands out?
AI policy is maturing. It's moved from should we build this to how much control should different stakeholders have. And that's reshaping which contracts get signed and which get walked away from.
Computer use is production ready, voice agents are production ready, the scaffolding is solid, but reliability and battle testing matter more than benchmarks.
And productivity gains are finally showing up in the data. The chatbot phase is over, the agent phase is starting. Individual capability is running ahead of institutional adoption.
If you're building anything in this space, the landscape you're operating in now is more complicated. Provider choice matters, ethics matter, trust matters. The constraints aren't just technical anymore.
Right. So here's what I'd love to know from you. If you're building AI tools or using them in your work, how are you thinking about provider choice? Are you worried about the politics, or is it purely about capability? Drop a comment below. I genuinely love to hear your perspective on this. And if you found this useful, our newsletter lands in your inbox every evening, completely free. That's luma.marbl.codes. All the links to everything we talked about today are in the description below. If you're enjoying these conversations, hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And if you're hiring in AI or looking to join a team doing this work, check out Atlas AI Talent. The waitlist is open now. Thanks for listening. We'll see you tomorrow.